Welcome to Two Girls, One Pod. I'm a girl. I've got another girl on this week. I'm recording from Wurundjeri land. I've got Emma Watkins on this week.
Hi!
There are some young people who are now adults listening who are losing their minds right now. Welcome, Emma, or as you are now known, Emma Memma.
Yes.
Or as you are now known to me, Goat Feeder Emma.
Yes.
Or as you are also now known to me, doesn't always wear a dress, sometimes wears overalls with the universe on them, Emma.
And that is definitely how we opened today's interview, with my solar system overalls on.
Solar system.
Yeah, my
solar
but
system.
I think the universe was a lovely touch there, Yvie.
Is it the one and the same?
Why not?
Yeah, let's go with it.
Let's do that.
Because we're not physicists.
No.
Or
we're
any
not.
of the ists of that
No.
nature. So we can call it whatever we want. Space.
We're two girls and one podcast.
We are. We are Two Girls, One Pod. You are living in the country. Where did you grow up first?
Well, my family grew up in regional New South Wales, Victoria. So most of my family is from Wodonga.
Beautiful.
Tumut. And then
Tumut?
I know. And then they all kind of migrated up to Sydney, where I was born, and I grew up in Ryde for 30 years. And then more recently, 2 years ago, I moved to southern Sydney in Robertson in the Southern Highlands.
Just beautiful. Had you been there before, obviously, or were you just kind of looking around on domain, realestate.com, like dragging the map around going,
Love that.
Oh, there's some nice places here, Dal. Look at this place. Oh, this is in our plight. Have you ever heard of Robertson? This looks nice. Let's go and have a look. Or had you gone, Dal, you know what I love? Robertson.
You know,
Why don't we buy a place there?
wouldn't that just be lovely? It is probably a mixture of both of those stories, but my parents bought a church in Kangaloon, which is not that far away, because they wanted to do grand designs. I know.
Oh, my God. Were they on Grand Designs?
No, they should have been, and they would have been one of those people that never gets the house done and everyone cries. And they've just they've had really bad luck. So unfortunately, their dreams have not been realised. But my parents moved down here as well, and then we thought that when I left the Wiggles and had time to actually, be with my family and see people, we thought, you know what, let's move to the country, and it's been so great.
You're loving it?
Love it. We love the quiet and the nature. We have wombats that live in our street. It's fantastic.
Wombats. Do you know, I had an ex-boyfriend that thought he was going to insult me by calling me a wombat. I went, mate, you
That's
have
a
just given me
compliment.
the biggest compliment. And he was like, yeah, right. Wombats are gross. I'm like, what is bad about a wombat? Who doesn't want to hug a wombat? Honestly.
Exactly. Wombats
So,
are beautiful.
Fool you. Wombats are the best. Now, we were just saying before we started, you're in a little studio that your husband made for lockdown. So you went hard? No, you had the sauna in lockdown.
My husband and I, my husband Ollie loves music. He's one of those people that picks up any instrument and can somehow make a beautiful sound, which is a very an amazing talent. And in lockdown, we were doing lots of recording, and we had a little sauna-y thing. So we tried to put pillows inside the sauna, and we recorded about 88 songs during lockdown. But it was good. And then we moved to the country and set up a home studio to record our Emma music. And so, yes, we're in the home studio in Robertson.
Unbelievable. And I was saying, is it just for you, or are you going to have other artists in, like bringing the Teskey brothers to record?
Yeah.
Because, you go up to these recording studios in Byron and people go and spend so much money to do their album in the middle of nowhere in this beautiful studio, number one, but area, so they can get inspired. Would that be something that you would hire your space out for?
Absolutely. I think Ollie has already opened it up to the locals of Robertson because we have a lot of authors. So we could actually start running the Robertson podcast audiobook series
Audio
from
books
home.
are huge.
Huge. And
They all read their books now, don't they, for us?
Miriam Margolyes down the street.
Oh, I know exactly where you are now.
So can she do an audiobook?
She's the best.
She's
yes.
awesome.
Oh, Miriam. Onion eater, lover. Best person who eats an onion rather than Tony Abbott. For me, much prefer her talking or eating an onion on camera. For some reason, I watched Tony Abbott do it and it was gross.
I haven't seen that footage.
Well, you know what? Never do.
Onto it.
Don't
never
ever watch,
do.
Never. It will not. It'll be a whole 5 seconds of your life that you'll want back and you can't get back. So
Okay,
don't
I'm not going to bother. Yeah. Okay. Well, Robertson Audiobook Studio is open.
Yes, I love it, and it sounds so literary.
Oh,
We are like a publishing house, Robertson Publishing House. That'll be your next thing.
That's
now
it.
You've got goats because you just said that you fed them in your solar system outfit. What other animals have? Because I'm a massive animal lover.
Oh.
What other animals do you have on the property?
Well, we'd say property, but it really just is it's just a normal standard block. But we have a beautiful wildlife sanctuary down the road where a lovely friend of ours has a property and she rescues the local wildlife. So our goats are with her. Yeah, she's beautiful. We have 4 dogs, 2 cats, 2 rabbits, and we've rescued some horses, but they're also not with us on this property.
But your dogs are?
The dogs are. The dogs and the
4
cats.
dogs.
4.
Quickly tell me about the dogs.
Well, we have Darlie, who's like a brown. They're all noodles and poodles because Ollie is allergic to everything.
Okay.
So if you're a noodle and you're a poodle, you're in.
You're
So
welcome.
Darlie and Rupee are our little poodly things.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got a cross terrier, who knows what she is, croissant, and then a spoodle patch.
Her name's Croissant.
Croissant.
Oh, I love that.
I'll bring her in at the end. I'll try and find her.
Yes.
I've had to put all of them out because I didn't want it to ruin the
I've got
podcast.
3 and normally you'd be hearing. I don't have 3. I have 2 and I foster. So I just got adopted out the 2 that we had. So I had 4 up until Saturday and I adopted the 2. I call them babies, but they weren't babies. But they come from the puppy farm. They're the mums. And so even though they're like 5 or 6 when we get them, they're like puppies. I call them babies because they're discovering everything for the first time. They've never had a lead. They've never had a name. They've never been inside. They've never. So it's all firsts. And
beautiful.
They really do act like babies because it's all so. But I just got one yesterday from the pound. Well, it wasn't the pound. It's the Lost Dogs Home here in Melbourne. And she was a stray, so she's 8 and she's just she spent all day yesterday awake and on, and today out like
she's
a light.
happy.
Like she's safe. She knows
comfy.
she's safe, and she's just taken up that tiny little bed that's donated to me a couple of months ago. I'm thinking, oh, this bed is so small. I have a massive bulldog, and I'm like, what the am I going to do with this dog bed? Along comes this perfectly tiny little, I think she's a Shih Tzu Maltese.
Great.
She's, I'm glad that you have 4 dogs and a massive animal lover and massive fan of you being a massive animal lover. Now, you've been dancing all your life since you were 3.
Yes, yeah, very much so. I don't really know much else.
So did you just get like your bio says that you've were into hip hop and a bit of break dancing. So were you like that kid in Tumut who was just breaking it down in the street? Were you break dancing and graffitiing your local school and stuff?
Well, and I wish my sister was here because she would probably be better at talking about this as opposed to me. But I felt a bit like Save the Last Dance. I felt like I was part of that film. And in year 10, because I went to a performing arts school in Sydney.
Good.
Every lunchtime was a concert.
Did you go to Newtown?
I went to McDonald College, so very
McDonald
similar.
College, even better.
So I at the time, obviously Nikki Webster, highlight of life, and then we were following on.
When I was young, it was Natalie Imbruglia.
Yeah, Natalie Imbruglia.
We grew up together. She went on to do that, and we were all like,
yes, yeah. So she's on all of the school wall.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, Natalie, Nikki, Nikki, all the people, and then. We're getting there. And then they graduated. I was a few years behind. And every concert we would dance, and I was part of the dance stream and just was obsessed with hip hop and commercial jazz. And so a lot of videos of me dancing when I'm younger is very funky, and now not so much.
Yes, yeah, very different.
Yeah, very
you're
different.
More like got the ballet feel now, haven't you, with Emma?
Yeah, I grew up with ballet and I grew up with Irish dancing, but I had a terrible dance injury at school, and so I couldn't do point. So everything changed for me, and I met some beautiful teachers who were very contemporary and modern and funky, and my whole world changed. And my teacher at the time, her name is Jane Beckett, is like a prolific Australian teacher who still teaches today, and I just feel like she's the queen. I love her to pieces.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's so great. So Emma Memma.
Yeah.
I don't know the Wiggles apart from when I used to nanny, like over 20 years ago, and the Wiggles were just in then.
Yeah.
Like they was on VHS, and we'd put them on, and it was crazy town. So I don't really know the new, but I know that you were the first woman Wiggle, which is just everything to me. How did that feel to have that happen, and were you chosen just as a Wiggle, or were you chosen because they wanted a woman?
Well, I feel like probably both. But at the time, I was doing lots of dance auditions, and I was at uni studying film, and I was just trying to do as many auditions as possible. And this one came up, and it was a ballet dancing fairy. And I was like, well, my hair looks like a fairy. I pretty much know how to do most basic ballet. Oh, I should be right. And I auditioned and then got the job straight away. But during that first 6 months, I'd worked for them maybe 2 days, and then I didn't have any work for 2 months. And, I was still teaching dance every day where I grew up. So I was still supplementing my work with the Wiggles with other teaching. And it was only maybe after about 8 months, then I actually got a call to go on the tour. And then everything just changed.
Yeah, and did you love it?
Loved it. Yeah, I mean, how special. And
so incredibly special.
Yeah.
And just around the world, there is no one that dislikes the Wiggles. Like everyone, old, young, it doesn't – but all I want to know is what is that like to have the adoration of pure souls like that. Like they are so untouched, and they love what they love and they hate what they hate.
They're very honest.
So to have that honesty and it be love, what is that like? Do you ever get over it?
No, and it's probably the reason why children's entertainment is so unique, because the audience is really endearing. And I guess you become their whole world, because children's entertainment fills a preschooler's life, whether that's music and dance and story and song. And so if you are in that space, you don't really it's just beautiful. And with you're not really being heckled at the shops. People aren't generally angry. So most of the time it's pure joy from parents or grandparents that they've finally seen you, and then it's really then about the confusion for the child seeing you not dressed in costume, and that's a different story. But most of the time in costume is a highlight.
I've just watched Hot Potato, the documentary.
Oh, have you? I haven't seen it.
It's so good.
Oh, great.
It's so good. I'm thankfully on the screener list for Prime Amazon, and they sent it to me, and I was like, I wouldn't mind actually watching this.
You're a week early.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend it to everyone that's listening and to you, Emma. You are going to get so much out of it because there's someone, great documentaries are like, I've just watched the Beckham one and it's the same. There's someone or some people who have just filmed everything and they've saved everything. And so when you eventually down the track make a documentary about this person or these people, someone goes, well, guess what? I've got in my arsenal, I've got a whole heap of, 127 hours worth of David Beckham kicking a bloody goal. Thanks.
Amazing.
I'll have that. They've got all these photos and videos of first performances and,
so good.
Videos of them, not videos of them meeting, but, photos of them at uni together and then just the talking about why they did what they did and who they were first, with the cockroaches and then getting into teaching, Greg was teaching and Anthony was teaching and how it was all a side gig and then they were really putting in the psychology of child development and education behind what they were writing and I was riveted, which you all will be because it's fascinating that there's a science behind this and that's why the Wiggles is so frigging good because people have really, really poured everything into that and they've taken it very seriously. It doesn't – and that's a funny thing about things like that. The things that never look that, thought out or they're the ones that have this beautiful background of what is it? Foundation.
Yeah.
And they've really thought about it and they've had people who are passionate about what they do. So when you joined, were you wrapped up in that or did you just kind of like, here's the songs, Emma, learn them, or did you know that about them?
Look, we had a really unique experience where we were able to learn from the originals. And so having that background and the foundation as to why this song was going to work as a story song or why this was going to be a role play song was very much embedded in the way that we were taught. And so I think coming from a dance teaching background as well, being able to apply that to Emma Wiggle and, and so forth is something that has been really, instrumental in the way that we can perceive ourselves on screen to help children have the tools and skills to connect with other people and dance along and participate. So I think we were really blessed to have that. We had a really long changeover period, it was like 8 months. And that really, I think, was the key for us, at the time, myself and Lockie and Simon, to be able to really understand the headspace and the philosophy of the group and try to continue the legacy of the music, for another 10 years.
Yes, and that's a heavy weight.
Yeah.
That you would have taken very seriously and made sure that you got that right and respected the children.
Yeah, yep, that's it.
Who've been and the children to come. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing about children is they all change, but they don't change.
Yeah, that's it.
They're just, you've got these fundamentals about children that work, and when you get that, it's like an old if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. But, the world changes, so I guess there's that. Yeah. But Emma Memma has come from that.
Yeah.
So why did you leave the Wiggles?
So I was actually doing uni my whole time when I was at the Wiggles. So I was at Sydney Film School and then I moved to UTS to do media arts and production. And so I was constantly trying to do kind of fake correspondence learning because I couldn't actually get approval for correspondence. So I was still going to classes, and then my teacher was really, really kind to me and, gave me all the notes, and, I was able to continue my studies. And then once I finished my master's, he was the one that was kind of, I guess, really encouraging me to continue to do a PhD. And so at the time, I thought that would be perfect, after doing media arts and dance, and I really wanted to combine them in some way. But at the time, it just wasn't quite the right fit for UTS, and when we were looking for other supervisors, one of the people that I'd been researching was an American dance filmmaker called Karen Perlman, or Dr. Karen Perlman, and she'd happened to be in Australia and she was teaching at Macquarie University, and so my mind was
Which is in
blown.
Ryde.
Which is in Ryde. So I was like, why did I not go to Macquarie Uni in the first place? And then I called her up and I was like, I live in Ryde and I'm looking for a supervisor. And then the minute that we met, that was it. And so for the last 6 years, we've been doing this PhD, and I submitted it this year, finally. So I left because in the pandemic we weren't touring as much, we weren't doing as much filming, and so I had much more time to focus on my study, which was probably a really good time in the research as well, because sign language, not just in Australia but in the world, was becoming people were becoming a little bit more aware about sign language and about other ways that we should be communicating with people. And so it was a perfect time for me to be able to contribute to a school of research, or an area of research that I was really passionate about. And so I've been at that for, 2 years since I left.
Wow.
And so I think now submitting it and, finally getting through, I feel like that was a really good chapter, that I was able to finish that properly and focus on the research, and I guess giving back to other people that are researching this area for so long.
Beautiful. I love that. Well, congratulations. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
I bet your parents are proud of you.
I haven't actually told them.
Can I tell them? No. They must be just generally so proud of you, but they're going to. When are you going to tell them? Tonight?
Well, I'll probably tell them tonight. Yeah.
Good. Are they having a roast?
Well, pop
just
down to the church.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell
Pop
have a
on
roast
down.
and say, I've got some news. I'm a legend. Yvie Jones said it, and I'm going to tell you why. I want to talk about sign language because I have a very odd, weird obsession with sign language.
Great. This is where we should start.
I'm really glad that you're interested in hearing about this, because when people dream that they're running?
Yes.
Or I dream I'm signing.
Perfect.
Every night.
Every night?
Single night I dream that I sign. And I can't sign. I mean, I can't. I can say good. Now, my beautiful, gorgeous, dear departed mother and I used to, I think it comes from her. She, growing up, she loved anyone that signed, and, she would always say, you're so good with languages, Yvie, you should, learn sign language. It is a language, and I never did. But
you can still learn.
I can still learn.
Yeah.
As my mother would say, you're not dead yet, Dal.
No, not yet, Dal.
Now, because I dream every night about signing, it's in my, it's in me all the time.
It's ingrained. So
when I think about talking to someone, like every time I interview someone, in my mind while I'm researching them and I'm thinking we're going to sign to each other. I don't know why, because I can't sign. But that's how I believe I can. It's a very weird thing to say.
No, it's okay. So my PhD is about people's advantages to learn sign language, or people's extra skills. So I don't know, because I'm not a researcher in the area of your dreams, but if you are a visual person and you can visualize a language that is visual, you will have a tendency to be better at picking up the language regardless. And so I would implore you to start learning.
I think I'm being implored. I'm feeling the imploration, and I'm going to do it.
Please.
My friend just said maybe 3 weeks ago, Yvie, on Chapel Street, they've got a place, a 6-week night course on a Monday. Do you want to do it?
Off your pop.
Okay. All right. I'm saying it right here. So which means I'm going to be held accountable, not only by you, but by my listeners, who are going to say, how is your sign language course going? The other thing I wanted to talk to you about sign language is something that I used to talk with my mother about all the time. Why is there not? I do know why there isn't, but just like every language in the world, we have different signing for so many. Like, even more so, like in England and America and Australia, we all speak English. Why don't we have a universal one that no matter where you went around the world, we can talk to each other? And we started it in school. It has to go all the way through to year 12 and it has to be universal and solve the world's problem.
Look, we could talk about this forever, but this is my favourite subject of all time.
It's one of mine as well.
And this would be better described from a deaf person, but I will describe my perspective as a hearing person looking at deaf culture. But really, when we had technology to be able to call each other, audio-wise, that technology didn't support any video sharing. So we have to remember that anybody that was using sign language, 100, 200 years ago and even more, would have actually only been spread from different countries and then using indicating what they might need or want through the people that are in their community. So naturally, the languages have evolved in each community and each country to represent their culture. And it's something that's not embedded in a lot of languages, culture is embedded in language, and we know that. That's a fact. But when you look at sign language, you can actually see culture in the language. And that is something that takes a little bit of time to get your mind around, but that is something that's so incredibly unique that you can actually see culture of Australia in Auslan, you see American culture in ASL, and you see culture embedded in all different sign languages around the world. Now, the world is becoming more global, and we have amazing things like this where we can video call or Zoom or Skype or FaceTime or whatever. And sign languages, they do borrow signs from each country.
Right.
But the key here is that for us as hearing people to learn a spoken language or to go to another country to do another spoken language, which is completely opposite, like something, for example, like Japanese, we would have no hope. Whereas a deaf person that is clued into visual clues and cues, they can pick up sign languages from around the world with not really much of an issue. The only change is really vocabulary, but the makeup of sign languages around the world are very similar. And that's why when people from all different deaf cultures come together, which happens a lot, and there's a big international conference that happens every year, some use a borrowed sign language or an international version of sign language. So there is a part of that they can share language, but you will be amazed as to how quick people in the deaf community can pick up other people's languages just by looking at the visual makeup of what it is. So I would say that it's more universal than spoken language currently right now.
And thank you so much for explaining that to me, because that has been a lifelong question.
Well,
and I
it's
really
amazing.
wish my mother was here to hear that, because
she knows. She
knows.
She knows.
Saying that, and thank you so much for explaining that. It makes so much sense. Like, when you do a table, what's table in Auslan?
Table or chair. So chair. Great.
It's so obvious to
exactly.
us what it is, because, we've made it. Like, us humans, I'm saying. Yeah. So, of course, when you go to Japan and you say chair, they're going to get it. So
exactly.
This perfect. Is so brilliant. And you know what I'm thinking now?
That you're going to start signing.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to start signing.
Please.
It was a wonderful... I think it was an RN or maybe just an ABC article that was on the radio that I listened to a really long, in the 90s, and it was talking all about the Australian accent.
Yeah.
And because I find accents so, I love doing accents. I have an ear for them. They always say you have an ear for things. I have a really good ear for accents. And I found the Australian history so fascinating of how our accent came to be. So I'm kind of looking at that now as, well, I don't know if you know, but it was the kids that created an Australian accent. The children of the Scottish and the Irish and the English created an accent within play on the street.
Sure.
So, it slowly developed
to
what it was and what it is today, which is still evolving all the time because, we never had regional accents, and we really have regional accents now.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that a universal sign language will just naturally evolve from deaf people.
And it's there, it's present. There are certainly signs that, like you said before, the sign for chair actually looks like a chair. Like the sign for butterfly, which is why we use it a lot, looks like a butterfly. And so that's why we created MMMR based on this concept, because for children of any background, of any ability, hearing, whatever, it doesn't matter, because visual communication can show you what that object means regardless. So in MMMR, all of the choreography or anything that you see us perform or do actually has sign language principles embedded, so it's not just an arbitrary dance move. And that is the core principle of why we started MMMR.
Oh, I love you.
I love you. Can you please start signing?
I'm going
you
to.
need to go to learn. But can I say one thing? One thing that we should let everyone know is that it is really, really important to learn the language from people within the deaf community. So it's important to make sure you do your research and find out what courses are available and who's teaching them.
That's great advice.
It changes everything. And you might feel confronted initially. Some people have never met a deaf person, but there are so many amazing deaf professionals and they have such an amazing knack for showing you the language. You've got to learn from a deaf person.
Okay,
so that's all I need to say.
I promise I will. And that's such great advice. Let's talk about Amazing Race.
Please.
I know that you win.
Oh, no. We don't know what the outcome is yet.
I just thought I just thought I'd see what your reaction there was. Because I don't know if you win, but saying that, I thought you would go, Yvie, you watched it already, have you? No, I haven't.
You have to wait.
You are still in it right now.
We're still in, and it's going well.
Did you enjoy it?
I have to admit that it's one of those experiences that you'll never ever... You can't replicate it. Like, you're never going to go on holiday and be under that amount of challenge. No. And we weren't going to anywhere that you would potentially think of a holiday destination. This was in the roots of communities that are in countries that some countries, people don't have the opportunity to go and visit. So I feel like when it was explained to me, and I watched the show as a child, in high school too, you always think you can accomplish the challenges from sitting in your lounge room. You're like, that's easy. Why can't they see that? It's over there. But when you're in the race, it's so much harder. And I've probably never done anything that physically difficult ever. But I'm so grateful for the experience now. And I did the race with my sister. And she's
great
classic.
Experience.
She's so great.
You both are just really enjoyable to watch, like together. That talk about sign language, like you have a language, a telepathy, which is just in this week's episode about how, and you can really see it. You can, and I love that kind of thing because you're not twins. Twins are above and beyond.
That's a different language. But
sisters. Language. Or siblings. Yeah. There's a look. I ask you if you enjoyed it because I did. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And people always ask me, how was that? Did you enjoy it? And I always have to say, no, I didn't. I did not enjoy it. But now I would never change it. And I'm so glad. Even when I first got out, people were like, so did you love it? And I'm like, hated it. It's so glad I did it.
Yeah.
So glad.
You change as a person. I think when I see my sister, who was, she would get anxious about things or doubt herself or something like that. After the race is completely gone. I have seen the biggest change in my sister just from the race than I've seen in her whole life. And I just feel like that experience of having to go through hardships, challenges, face different languages and just has
see what
changed.
You're made of.
Yeah.
See what you can do, what you can
do.
And women seem to really It's funny. I've often, I'm a massive advocate for just women. We're just such incredible beings of strength and resilience that we are so not until someone sees us give birth, which I've never done. So it's like, well, how do you know how wonderful I am if you haven't, oh, my God, I saw her give birth and I got a whole new appreciation of how strong women are. It's like, oh, f*** off. We are amazing already.
Absolutely.
And the things that we can put ourselves through, you with endometriosis or just those kind of reproductive things plus the hormones that we have to go through on a daily, monthly basis and still get out of bed every day and turn up and be there and do things that I honestly believe the other side do not get. And they get it. Oh, I want to see it. Oh, my God, I've never had such an appreciation. Oh, my God, the respect I have for her now. Oh, I had to ask Jenny about, Jenny said to me last night, if that was one of us or your kids, Scott Morris, it's like, no. Anyway, I'm on a rant. But what I wanted to say was that in the jungle, 3 people have officially quit over our 9 seasons, and they've always been top elite athletes, men who have once been at the top of their game. Never a woman. Women we just keep
going.
We just keep going because shit's got to get done.
You've got to keep going.
The 3 that have left, Bo Ryan,
really?
Anthony,
that's right.
Quit.
We should call him up and tell him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you should have seen the DM I sent him as soon as I saw him go. Anthony Mundine and Bernard Tomic.
Oh.
Because these men do not get told no in their lives.
Look at the finger.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
And the people listening know my finger is right in front of my
finger.
They know
happening
without even seeing it. Yeah. But these are men who are so used to when they say, I'm hungry. Like, no, I'm really hungry. Like, I know you say we're not going to eat like we're eating, but no, I really need food. So can you just get me food? And the producers go, no. They're like, I'm sorry, I'm out. I'm sorry. This is fucking ridiculous then. Like, seriously, mate, this is ridiculous.
And that's why our perseverance is a superpower. And
it is.
It takes people places. You can see that sense of endurance and it's useful.
It is, and I just wish we had more recognition of that superpower without having to do such an extraordinary thing like make a human to have the opposite sex realise that. Like, well, I really wish they would just go, you know what? We've f***ed it for a while. How about you gals run the world let's just give it all over to the women. And just because I reckon we f***ed it, blokes, we have ruined things a little bit. So why don't we only have women in power only for just, let's say, 5 years? Just let them clean up a bit, organise things a bit, organise. Like the first thing we'd do is, as leaders, we'd get in and we'd be like, okay, first thing we're going to do is have just let's have a circle of healing. Like, let's just have a listening circle. Let's just talk to each other. Let's just start with that. And then there'd be this compassion and this understanding and this empathy that is so missing in the world and it's not until you see nowadays us doing things like SAS or I'm a Celebrity or Amazing Race, things that they're like, wow, they're really amazing. And I'm so glad that we have this change happening and women are starting to be leaders and women are starting to be listened to and not just nurturers, as well as nurturers, but taking that nurturing into a PhD of, looking at the way people speak to each other. What an incredible gift you have now of this immense knowledge of where things come from. Like, you must be just so proud of yourself. You didn't even need your mum and dad to be proud of you. You should be proud. Are you just, like, does your husband just go, you rule? on a daily basis? Or does he just go feed the frigging goats?
He's in bed. I think I just feel, yeah, he is. But he, like Ollie and, like a lot of people that, are not doing a PhD, for example. I feel
a lot of people. There's a
lot
few
of people. Like it's a very strange thing to do. But like Ollie has such an amazing mind that I feel that there are so many people that can contribute to the world even not having done a PhD. And I just feel that it was probably a way to corral my excited projects into a place where then I would learn more about myself and more about other people, because I think differently now, and I'm grateful for that experience to make me think differently, whereas I think Ollie has a really great independence for thinking differently because he does so much research on his own. Like he just reads everything, whereas I feel like the PhD corralled me to do that. Which was...
He does that naturally.
Yeah, he does that naturally. But I think going back to what you mentioned before about ruling the world, I secretly feel that we already rule the world.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. We just don't have to mention it. We just go under here and we already know that we're already ruling the world.
Well, I think we're ruling the home. I don't think we're ruling the world, because I think the world would be a better place if we were.
And that's a fair point.
And we get held back because we rule the house.
But we're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We really are.
We're getting there.
And that's what we're seeing, the things, the women that we see on TV, doing the things, listening to women's lyrics now, things that are changing. I don't know if it's going to happen in our lifetime, where we're going to see these massive changes. But I think soon it's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, there has to be that. I don't know. Has there been not a matriarch, but more of that? I mean, not since pagan times where women were so revered. The female form or what it could do was prayed to. That the reproductive system of life, that meant life on the earth. I think that's happened, but I think that's going to happen again in that way where they're looking at it of...
I think we're just like a murmur in the background that we... Yes. But there are some amazingly...
I thought you said mermaid for a minute there.
We could absolutely be a mermaid. We're just a murmuring...
mermaid.
Yeah, a murmuring mermaid in the background taking over the world, and then we splash our tail and we're there.
Yeah, it'll happen. Look, it may, like I said, may not happen in our lifetime, but it is going to happen. Now, I'm going to finish with a question about your charity.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us a bit about your charity with Hayley is the Leonie Jackson Memorial Fund? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Why did you choose that, and what is it?
Well, this fund is actually, I guess, an extension of a deaf organisation in Australia called Deaf Connect, and this particular fund is actually in memory of Leonie Jackson, who very, very tragically passed away from trying to save her sons in a rip. And Leonie was just one of those pioneers, not just in deaf education, but I think in children's learning around Australia and around the world, particularly in the deaf community, for really trying to foster bilingual education, so children that would need English and Auslan. And I think we have lost that kind of sense of driving spirit. She was so steadfast in what she was doing, and she knew that this was such a great way to offer language for children that needed both systems. And we chose this charity because we had lots of opportunities to work with Leonie, and I learnt a lot from her in my time. And, yeah, I think about her a lot.
She sounds amazing.
She was
amazing.
What a
great charity.
Yeah, so it's not like, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, it's not a charity that has I said, it's not a charity that has a shop front.
No.
It's not a charity.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, like that's not what it's about. It's the fact that the pure purpose of being able to create awareness around the importance of bilingual education and true, authentic funding for those kinds of programs is exactly what this charity embodies. And so hence why we were really specific about choosing this one.
Beautiful. Perfectly said too. Thank you for explaining that to me. I've never heard of that fund before, so it's something that I'm going to go and look into.
Nobody
and donate
would.
some money to.
Yeah,
I'm going to learn some sign language. Is that what sign language?
Well, this is just a sign for sign. So currently right now we're just like roly-polying our hands around.
Yes, as if we've got kind of a
like
ball.
Like a ball.
Pizza.
Or
dough or something.
a ball of wool, you know.
Oh, beautiful feeling.
Why not? Yeah.
Emma Watkins, thank you very much for being the other girl to me. I really have enjoyed this conversation. It's been absolutely marvellous. And I thank you for all that you're doing, all that you're continuing to do. And I really thank you for coming and giving me your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for chatting. And I just can't wait to see you sign.
Yeah. Oh, you'll see it. Listeners, I'm sure you've enjoyed that. Emma, where can we find you on the socials?
Well, we have an Emma Memma social situation and an Emma Watkins social situation, so you can find us on @EmmaMemma or emmamemma.com, or we've got a YouTube channel. But look, there's lots of things.
Just Google her. Still going on The Amazing Race, so here's to the win to the sisters.
Come on.
And please rate, review, subscribe. 5 stars only. 2 Girls, 1 Pod. If you have any questions or any, you need to tell me how wonderful I am, DM me. You know where to find me. Thank you for listening. I'll have my solo pod out on Tuesday. I love you all.